Hey, robotics guys, here we go. We are going to introduce programming. We're going to introduce um, not the OnBot Java. We're going to introduce blocks today, and I'm going to introduce you to someone really special. Here we've got a guest. We've got 4195. Here you go. This is it. Here's the robot. All sorts of messy, all sorts of old. This is interesting. Here we go. This is a perfect test robot. We're not using this anymore. All of this equipment is outdated. It still works. This is nothing but a practice programming robot right now. What it has on it. Let's go through some of the basics. Here's some things you need. First of all, we have a battery. Normal battery supply, same Anderson power pole connection that we've got. This runs to the core module. We don't use this brand or this type of control module anymore, but this distributes the power to the motor controllers, which we have two stacked on top of each other. There's also, it distributes data to these motor controllers. It distributes data to this sensor port over here. Up front, you have several sensors. You've got a distance sensor, an IR sensor, you've got a light and color sensor, and you've got a touch sensor, all in the front. All good things to practice programming with. You've got your phone mounted here on the side, data cable coming out of the phone into the core module. Okay. Four-wheel drive. It is four-wheel drive. You could practice your four wheels. You cannot practice any mechanism driving because they're not at angles. There's no rollers. You could practice two-wheel drive. You could practice four-wheel drive. The wheels all have encoders. Encoders is the data wire that goes to the motor. It measures how many times the wheel has spun. Or if you've got the wheels geared, it measures how many times the motor shaft has spun. And then you would figure out how many times the wheel is spun. So you know how far you've driven. All of this is really cool, okay? Here we go. Other things you will need. You will need the second Android phone. This is the driver station. Right now, you are using the new Rev control hubs or the Rev expansion hub. If you have the control hub, you do not need this phone. The Wi-Fi this phone supplies is built in to the Rev control hub. The expansion hub is different. It has no Wi-Fi access. You would still need a phone to hook to the expansion hub. If you use both, you use the control hub and it takes care of everything. Phone from the driver station talks to the phone or to the control hub, which sends all the information and the data to the core module, which distributes it out through the bot. You need a controller. This is a Logitech F310. On the back, make sure it's in that X position right there. You will need a connector to get from this USB cable to this phone. All right, that doesn't work. You need a connector there. We're not going to worry about all of that right now. Sorry, this is the cable. You need to adjust it. You need to charge it. Those are the things you need to begin. Here is how you first connect. You bring up this phone right here. All right, there we go. Swipe up and you select the app. Everything is on the driver phone, or it's not the driver. Everything is on the robot phone. Everything is on the robot controller, the control hub or the expansion hub, if that's the one you're using. All your files are saved right here physically on the phone. Nothing is on the web. Nothing is online. It's all accessible, but everything is physically on this phone. You have to download it from this phone. There's nothing saved on the driver phone. This just links your controller or controllers to this. Talk to it. This is also the phone that produces the Wi-Fi. So I don't need to boot this up until there is a Wi-Fi signal. All right. So you swipe up, you select the app, and within just a second, it's going to say connected. Once you've got a ping, there we go. Learn to use the camera. Once you've got a ping over here, you're good to go. These are now connected. These phones are talking to each other. There's an error in orange on the bottom. That's because I don't have this robot powered on. Now that we're powered on, we can restart. Three dots in the top brings you your menu. Restart robot. That's a common command. You will need to be able to do that. All right. Restart robot complete. Good. We've got a good battery. We are powered up. We are plugged in. Here's what we're going to do now. All right. Now, to program anything in here, you're going to go down to your Wi-Fi. You're going to change. You're going to leave the school's Wi-Fi, and you're going to go to, in this case, 4195. Okay? I know I'm sharing my screen. Go away. Well, now that I'm connected to 4195, I can go back to this phone. If you follow down here and go to Program and Manage, if you go to Program and Manage, it's going to bring up a screen. It's going to have the Wi-Fi, the password, and the website. Here you go. So all you got to do, once your Chromebook is now on this Wi-Fi, you take any browser, 192.168.491:8080. If you are using the control hub, this 49 has changed. It might be an 89, a 69. I don't know. It's just two different numbers there. It's 192.168.491:8080 for the phone to phone. If you're using a control hub, that's different, but you find it on the driver's station. This is what Blocks looks like. Now you know how to connect. You're on Blocks. So we're going to go into Blocks. Several things you'll notice. You don't need to see me as much anymore. We're loading here. Somebody's been making some programs here. First thing we could do is create a new op mode. We can open all of these samples are already built in. All of these samples are already built in. One of the best places to start is Basic Tank Drive. Okay, and this is trial. We're going to hit OK. Okay, now the Blocks interface is loaded up. Okay, this is what the Java code is. You can read this, you can learn Java, or for right now, we can deselect that, we can hide that. Scroll is zoom. It's one of the more annoying things in here. It's tough for me to keep remembering that. All right, this is it. Run op mode. It sets one of the motors in reverse. First of all, it thinks it's a two-wheel drive thing. Wait for start. That's important. If the op mode is active, it's going to do what's inside here. Okay, let's go through this really fast. Here you go. This is everything. Set power. We've got, all right, let's look through this program here. Telemetry. Telemetry is something you'll need for debugging. Telemetry is something you'll need for good programming. Telemetry is just feedback. It will tell you on the bottom of the driver's station phone whatever you want to say in telemetry. So it will, on the phone, say left power, and then right beside that, it will say, actually, this is a variable. It will tell you what the power to the left wheel is. And this, it will say right pow. And then it will give you the number for the power it's giving the right wheel. And then update means it refreshes on the phone. So every time it goes through here, you're going to put the telemetry out, and then update it. So you've got to do that. Every time you go through this loop, gamepad 1 is the controller. Left stick Y. So left stick over here, left stick Y is this value. Whatever this value is, not side to side, but up and down. Whatever this value is, it's going to put that number between 0 and 1, 1 being 100%, all right, and negative 1 being minus 100%. It's going to send that to the motor. You're going to see that there's a negative there. There's a really weird thing here. When I push this all the way forward, all the way up, it's actually saying negative 1. It's reading negative 1 to the computer. Well, I want this to be forward, so we put a negative right there. Okay? That's why you'll often see that with this driving. Okay? While the op mode is active. What does that mean? That means if I'm over here and something goes wrong and I panic and hit stop, it breaks out of this green loop right there. And anytime you set up a while loop or an until loop, you need to make sure it's called check for start. We'll get into that later. Okay? Otherwise, if you can hit stop over here and panic, nothing's going to happen. if the op mode is active, so it's going to wait and then do that once. This, call trial wait for start. So when I bring this up, all right, let's go back to our main page here. So this is, we're going to go ahead and save this mode. And we can go back to blocks and we can get out of there. Over here, autonomous is on the left. Those are a list of the autonomous programs. All right. Here is a list of the teleop programs. Trial is right down here at the bottom. So if I hit initialize, everything that was written, sorry, I left that over. Everything that's written between right here, this top purple loop, and this wait for start, everything that's up here just happened. And now it's going to sit right here until you hit play. And now it's going to move down and start whatever loop or whatever command you've got next. And then if you hit stop, it'll take care of that. So initialize is going to execute all of these commands. Play is actually going to move it down into this loop. Set direction wheel reverse. Hey, these two motors are exactly the same. And if I give them full power, they both turn the same way. But when I put them on the chassis, now they're facing opposite directions. So if one's turning, they're both turning clockwise with full power, the robot's going to do weird things. So I need to tell it that, hey, my right wheel is on the other side of the robot. So now it gives it every command is reversed for that right wheel all the way through here. So now you can treat the wheels the same. And if I give them both 400% power, they will both go forward or both go reverse. We'll look at a couple things over here. Linear op mode. This is commands where you would get wait for start, sleep. This is a pause. You can check if it's active. These are places to look for things about the program. Gamepad. Over here, you can look, if I want to look at the difference, the left trigger, I can get gamepad 1 or gamepad 2. I can change from the trigger to the stick. Be careful. Trigger is 0 to 1. It can be any decimal in between. Buttons are on or off. 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. These can't be treated the same because this is a variable. This is a decimal. It can go half, 3/4, 2/5, whatever. This is on or off. And they're different. They're treated different. Okay. Actuators. This is your motors, your servos, anything that moves on the robot. Why aren't there a whole bunch of servos listed here? Because we have to configure them first. And I'll get into that and how to do that in a different thing. All right, sensors. The sensors that are plugged into the robot are listed here. Android. This is physical devices on the phone, on the robot that you can access and use. Utilities. This is important. Most important one down here. Well, we'll talk about TensorFlow. We'll talk about Vuforia. But right here, telemetry. This is how you add comments back to the phone so you can figure out what's going on. Okay? And logic is where your if loops are. If you're comparing, are two things equal? Are they greater than, less than? All right. Your loops, while, until, or counting for a certain number of times. Math, all the math you'll ever need. Text, if you want to write lists or get this to do other things. Lists of variables. If you have a lot of things going on and you need to track X, Y, and Z at the same time, then you can create a list, and all three of those variables are stored the same way. You create a variable. We'll get into that. You create a function. We'll get into that. Miscellaneous. Comments. Oh, comments are really important because when you're reading this later, you're remembering this later, what did I do? What did I do yesterday? And you forgot. It's right there, and now it's saved into that op mode, and you can write this. So you block your program off, and you list what's going on in each section so someone else can follow you and finish the day you're absent. Okay, those are all important things. All right, that's where we're going to start. That's the robot. That's 4195. That's how we're going to program in blocks. Okay.